love is so contagious, contagious. So contagious, yeah, baby. Yeah, your love is so contagious. baby. Yeah, your love is so contagious, contagious. So contagious, yeah, baby. Yeah, your love is so contagious, contagious.
Hello friends and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This latest video in a playlist called Serious Fun with SQL, and here we'll be learning some seemingly gibberish, however you want to pronounce that word, gibberish SQL syntax, which are actually quite useful. Okay. So now I've opened Oracle SQL Developer, which is the free SQL tool, Oracle tool. Once we have installed Oracle database, then this comes bundled with it. Okay. So the first thing we will be learning in what I may call SQL gibberish is this: 1 equals 1. So for somebody who is quite new to SQL and you stumble upon an existing code, and then you see this, then this will make you scratch your head, because you will say this is something very obvious. That why would somebody in his right mind use 1 equals 1 in an SQL statement if it is already very obvious? Okay, in SQL there's a work condition. In the work condition of an SQL, it is actually being evaluated based on Boolean. Boolean is a mathematical concept wherein it only has 2 values. It's either true or false, Boolean. So when you have a select statement, like this one, select asterisk from customer, and then whatever is the condition, let's say where gender equals M. In this work condition, the work condition is actually being tested if it is true or not. It's Boolean. It's being tested whether it's true or not. Now let's put the 1 equals 1 in its place. Okay, let's start without it. Okay, select asterisk from customer. So it will obviously display everything without any kind of filtering, because you did not specify any work condition to it. Okay. Now let's just say you have this kind of condition. Gender. I'll add a work condition. Okay. for purpose of simplicity, I will skip the naming convention, I mean the uppercase convention for the reserved words. Okay. So select asterisk from customer where gender equals M, which is male. Okay, I will execute this. And then you have this. So if you'll notice, the first execution we had without the word condition returns 4 rows, which is a mix of male M and 1 female. But with this added condition where gender equals M, then it will just return to us the male records. And then now let's add another condition to it. Okay, where gender equals M and customer ID, cost ID equals 00007. Okay, so when I execute this, then it should only return to me or display this record only, right? Only this record. And it does what it's supposed to do. So now where does the 1 equals 1 come into the picture? Okay, where does it matter? When do we use this thing? Now, sometimes when you're trying to do testing, debugging, you're in the process of development, refining your code, you may find the 1 equals 1 useful. Why? How? Let's look at this. There's a word condition here where gender equals M and cost ID such and such. If I try to, let's say I only wanted to use this condition, customer ID, and I wanted to comment the gender condition. If I do this, it will obviously throw a syntax error. Right? Why? Because the where is missing. It's been commented out. And okay, so that is where the where 1 equals 1 comes into play. Where 1 equals 1. So what happens is, while you're playing around with the word conditions that you need, you can, as you wish, comment and uncomment any conditions that you want without throwing or causing a syntax error. Let me show you. This will work. This, highlighting these 2 will work. Highlighting these 3 will work. No syntax error. Highlighting the 4, running everything, it will also work. Right? It's because of this where equals 1. So when you look at where 1 equals 1, 1 equals 1 will definitely evaluate to true. 1 equals 1 is true. There's no doubt about it. But why use it? That means because of this 1 equals 1, we are able to freely use the end conditions after it without causing any syntax error. See, if I comment this and then run, it will still work. Or I uncomment this and then comment the other one, it will still work. All because of this one where 1 equals 1. So if you don't still get it, the presence of where 1 equals 1, firstly, it is something that is very true. It's a true, it will evaluate to true. But it allows you to add any condition under it, beginning with and something, and something. So you can, it is used by developers when trying to tweak, trying to test which condition works or which condition is causing some error while doing some investigation. So that's the purpose of the 1 equals 1. Some other people may have other purposes, but this is the most obvious, most commonly used, common usage of 1 equals 1. Okay. Second on the list is this one. 1 equals 0. So again, this isn't something similar to the 1 equals 1, which is an obvious thing. This one is something weird. Why? Because 1 is definitely not equal to 0. But why use this in the first place? So this will evaluate this condition. If you use this in a word condition, this will evaluate to false because it's not true at all. Because it's an inequality. 1 is actually not equal to 0. But why use this? A classic example of its usage is when we're creating a table based on an existing one. Let me show you how the effect of this, of using this condition. Okay, I will look, let's look at this. Okay, I'll comment that. Okay. So in this statement, create table customer back, which means backup, as select asterisk from customer. What we're trying to do here is to try to create a table called customer underscore back, which is a backup table based on the contents of a table called customer. So we're creating a backup table using this one short and sweet select statement. As you know, the customer table exists. It only has 4 records. We've seen that in the previous example. So now we're trying to create a backup table of this one, a replica of this one, with a slightly different name, okay, for the purpose of backup. Okay, so I'll execute this one. So it says table customer back created. And if you highlight this and do a Shift F4, which is a shortcut, you can see the table has been created. This is the structure of the table. And if I do a select against that table, then I will surely find data in it because we have just created a backup. So select asterisk from customer back and try to query from the new table. And indeed, it is not empty. And as I've shown you, this is the structure, which is actually the same as the customer table. Okay, so this works. So this short statement is used to create a backup table. Now, where does the 1 = 0 come into play? When I add this condition, if I add this condition, 1 = 0, it changes the complexion of everything. So previously we used this statement, these first 2 lines, to create a backup table called customer underscore back, which is a replica of the table called customer. By adding this word condition where 1 = 0, which evaluates to false, the effect is that it will create a replica table of this, but empty. It will be an empty table. So that's the purpose of the 1 = 0 in this case, actually. So I will say create, I will use some other table, create table customer underscore empty. Right now, this table is not existing. If I do a Shift F4 on that, it will be, SQL developer will complain that it doesn't exist. No object found because I haven't created it yet. So I will execute this statement, create table customer underscore empty. This is the name I'm giving the new table, as select asterisk from customer where 1 = 0. Technically I'm creating a backup table of this one, but it will create a replica having the same structure of the table. But because of this added condition where 1 = 0, the table created customer underscore empty will be empty. Okay, so as you know, you can see from now, at this point, it still doesn't exist. Now when I execute this, then you see table customer underscore empty created. Okay, so let's check on that table. As you can see, I will check Shift F4. The table is there, all right. Customer empty, and then you see the structure. It's even similar to the table called customer. It's even similar to the table called customer underscore back. But now let's try to query this table. Select asterisk. Select asterisk from customer empty. And you see it's empty. Why? Because of the effect of this word condition. The 1 = 0. So at first glance, outside the context of SQL, this will not make sense. 1 equals 0 is a false. To evaluate the false any day because it's an inequality. 1 is not equal to 0. But the purpose of using this in the work condition in the create statement is to create a replica table which is empty. Okay, that's the purpose of the 1 equals 0 in SQL. The third we will be looking at is this. The use of 1 as a number like this, or 1 written as a string enclosed in single quotes. So again, let's go back to the same table we've used. Customer. Let's look at customer table. So you can see it has 4 records in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's see the output of this. Select. Instead of select asterisk from customer, I will use select 1 from customer. So remember, this table has 4 records. Now when I replace the asterisk with the number 1, see what happens. See what it does is it still shows me 4 records out there, but instead of showing me the data for each of those records, it simply shows me a 1 for each of those rows. 1, 1, 1, 1. So there could be a couple of reasons to use 1. There are a couple of reasons, but one of them is just you wanted to do a quick check on a table by not necessarily doing a select count, or you're not necessarily using the select count command, just doing it simply like this: select 1 from customer, select 1 from this. You could even give a work condition to this, it will still work. But the point of all this is that you're just trying to simplify your select statement for the purpose of checking on the data's existence, not necessarily doing a deep dive on the data and trying to evaluate the data based for maybe data correctness, things like that. Okay, so you can even replace this with 1 enclose a single quote. It will still work the same way, but it will still work the same way. Okay, so that's the purpose of this 1. Okay. The fourth one we're going to look at, which is what seems to be gibberish in SQL, is this: order by, and then you will see numbers instead of column names. Okay, so now let's see why or how helpful it is first. Again, we go back to a simple select statement: select gender, surname from customer table, and we execute that. It displays 2 columns, gender and surname, side by side from the table customer. As we know, there are only 4 records in this table, so it only displays 4 records. And since we specified 2 columns, it will only show us 2 columns in those 4 records. Next is we'll use an order by clause in this same statement. So exactly the same statement, I simply added order by gender, and then surname, meaning after pulling the data from the table, I'm telling the SQL engine to first sort it according to the gender, and then that data set resort it based on the surname. Okay, so I execute the second select statement, and you can see it ordered by gender, female first, which F precedes M, and then after the F, the M data, male, but also sorting it by surname. See, Cruz, Doe, Santos, CDS, that's alphabetical. So that's the effect of using order by, this and then this. So where does this come into the picture? What we will do is this same select statement with this order by, instead of saying gender and surname, I can say 1, 2. 1 meaning the first column name in the select list. If you look at the select list, of columns. The first column being mentioned is gender. So that means 1 is referring to gender. 1, this is 1, and this is 2. The first column in the select list, second column in the select list. You can even say 2, order by 2, comma 1. It will still work. So let's see the effect of order by 1. First, look at this. So what happens is this order by 1, 2 will have the same effect as the preceding SQL statement. Why? Because gender is the first column in the select list and surname is the second column in the select list. So it will have the same effect. See, it's the same. Sorts by gender first, and then it looks at surname. So that is order by 1, 2. You can also say order by 2, 1. Okay, if you try order by 2, 1, then you will see. Okay. It first sorts according to surname, yeah, and then gender. Okay, so those are the 4 things we've learned. One is, I'll write them down here. Learn about 1 equals 1, which is sometimes used in a where clause. It will give you a condition that is always evaluating as true, but you can use it for tweaking your code, debugging. It gives you the free hand to comment and comment where conditions as you wish, because the where 1 equals 1 is always there. Then you have 1 equals 0, which is obviously an inequality and will evaluate to false, but something that is used when creating a backup table, which you want to be empty. Not really a backup table, but you're creating a replica table. Okay. The third we learned is this. Select 1 with code or without code, which is just selecting for existing, to test if data exists. And then finally, we have order by, and then you put some number like index, the ordinal number of the columns in the select list of a select statement. Okay, so we've learned these 4 under useful SQL gibberish or gibberish, however you may want to pronounce the word. Okay, so I hope we have learned something new from this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified. I will see you in the next video.